Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of American Beauties, your home for AHL news, notes, talkers, and more. We're brought to you by the Old City Sports Network. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me tonight, as always, we've got Sam Wismer. Sam, how are you doing tonight?
I'm feeling a little under the weather, but other than that, I'm doing all right.
Well, sorry you're not feeling well. That was definitely me last week.
You passed it through the computer, bro. Thanks.
Yeah, it's all my fault. Yeah, that's a different kind of computer virus apparently. So it's we'll just go with that. But we'll get you plenty of water breaks throughout the show here too. But yeah, we are 3 days away from the opening of the AHL season. A loaded slate of games this weekend as well. And
a lot of hockey.
because this is our last show before, as we did our season division preview shows, we went through and picked our winner for each of the divisions. When we went to the Atlantic, you took Bridgeport, I took Springfield. We got to the Pacific, you took Calgary, I did Colorado. The North, you went with Utica, and I went with Laval. And then in the Central, you picked my Iowa Wild, and then I went with the Milwaukee Admirals. And I'm already getting a little bit worried about that one, as we'll talk about later in the show. But yeah, let's dive in and get our pick a season winner. We've done our division, so now we've got to pick who's going to win the Calder Cup this year.
Well, I'm going to have to go with Calgary only because they have something to prove because, let's face it, Chicago whooped their butt last season. And, yeah, if I was Calgary, I would have something to prove right now.
There's definitely a chip on the shoulder there, for sure. That's not an exaggeration. Like, they are going to be, coming out like gangbusters out of the gate. And really, I think a team that should be one of those, Final Four teams standing again when all is said and done. I like that pick a lot.
And for anybody that's really not familiar with the AHL or is trying to get familiar with it, Calgary Wranglers was formerly known as the Stockton Heat. They got moved back to Calgary because of low attendance at games, basically.
Okay. So with the move back to Calgary as well, and now, kind of a blessing there as well, as we've talked about on past episodes, where you have the NHL club and AHL club in the same geographic region, and now you have it, literally in the same city. That's a big help there.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I think I posted on my Twitter Friday night when I was driving up to see the Penguins play the Phantoms. I said, I'm super fortunate and privileged that I not only have my NHL team in my backyard, basically, but I also have the Hershey Bears that are within a 2-hour drive. I have Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, that's 45 minutes from me. I have the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, that's 35 minutes from me. I have the Reading Royals that are like an hour and a half from me. I'm super fortunate to have all this hockey near me. A lot of people aren't, and I just feel bad because it's like a lot of people don't have that access to this type of hockey. And this level and the coast is so much fun to watch.
Oh, for sure. I just division-wise, because you have not only is it like a geographic rivalry, but historically it's been a rivalry as well, because these franchises have been a bit more established. So you have that kind of competition as well. And with the NHL season, technically starting last week, but they're already underway tonight. As we're looking live here, Lightning and Rangers are in the second period, no score. Hockey is back, and it's the best time of year for us as hockey fans across the board. Full of hope for the upcoming season.
Some fan bases are
a little
more hope than others.
Yeah, that's fair. But again, if you're an NHL fan and you are not as hopeful about the season, look to your AHL team, look to the ECHL affiliate, because there's probably going to be some hope at the other levels. So even if you're not, we've used the Flyers as an example on this show before, but if you're, the Chicago Blackhawks and you're looking at the Rockford Ice Hogs, if you're, I hate to say Buffalo because I feel like every year Buffalo is like, this is our year. We're finally going to make it back to the playoffs, and we'll see. But Rochester should be competitive this year. Arizona, Tucson, maybe not quite as much, but still you can see the framework starting to build there organizationally. Look to the lower levels and see what's coming down the pipe and give this AHL thing a shot. I mean, you're going to be very happy that you did.
Yeah, definitely. A couple people have told me just within the last couple of days that if it wasn't for my coverage of the team that I cover, they wouldn't know anything about the prospects that are in the pipelines.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really that's kind of, it makes me sad because these guys deserve the coverage. They work their butts off.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And first and foremost, I want to say congratulations to any AHL player or NHL roster player that was in the AHL last year and you made it to the NHL this year.
Yes.
Congratulations. That is such a huge accomplishment. I shed a few tears today of pride and happiness, but that's just definitely just the biggest accomplishment any AHL player can make is making the NHL roster right out of camp.
Well, I love that teams are starting to recognize this a little more with social media as well. I mean, we saw last week it was the Cody Glass video where they announced that he's joining Nashville's roster and made the trip to Europe to play with them in the opener. The Wild released one with Marco Rossi and Kalen Addison having made the roster. Like, it's cool to see that teams are taking that approach and that pride with that AHL development now, where it feels like it's more than just like you're not good enough, but now it's you're developing, you're getting there, you're competing, and wanting the AHL to be at a competitive level of parity that is similar to what you see at the NHL level.
For sure. And I think there was another video that came out with Cody Glass. I think I tagged you in it, and
you did, yeah.
Something about him fighting, and he feels like he looked like an idiot.
Well, yeah, there's they're doing like a behind the glass segment, and they thought it was like they were doing it for the team, but it was because he's Cody Glass. They're doing it behind him and like backing him and kind of telling his story throughout. It's a cute idea. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my pick in there, and oh man, I have about 5 or 6 teams that I want to run with here that I think could be in a really, really good position. I've said I think Colorado is going to be really good. We have talked about Calgary and the thoughts that they're going to be right in the mix at the end of the season. I think just for no, I have no real reason to justify this pick, but I'm going to go with Springfield.
Okay.
They were my pick to win the Atlantic, and I think I'm going to back that pick all the way. I like Colorado, but as I've seen how their roster is coming together, it's not necessarily what I thought it was going to be, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but I think Colorado is in good shape. If Conor Ingram was still going to be with the Milwaukee Admirals, which we'll touch on later in the show, I would feel really good about Milwaukee's chances, especially being able to run a tandem there with Ingram and Yaroslav Askarov. I mean, that's a dangerous tandem that they would have been able to run. That has me a little more concerned now. But yeah, I'm going to go with Springfield, but it wouldn't surprise me to see any of those teams in the mix. Plus, Iowa Wild, chip chair chance, if they can get there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like what we could get.
All right. Visit. Did you have anything else for that?
Oh, no. I was going to do the read in case you weren't going to do it. So
no, it's fine. I got it.
Go for it.
Visit lugaroo.co for all of your custom, basically teamwear needs. Colin over there, he's fabulous. Shout out to Colin. We need to get him.
Our first guest that we had on the show. Again, if you're new to the show and this is your first time watching, after this live episode, go back on Spotify or on YouTube, and you can watch the interview that we did with Colin, who had some phenomenal stories to share throughout that episode.
I dropped a little pin to Patty Nags this week.
Oh, there you go.
I'm still waiting to hear back.
Well, as we look at the upcoming schedule this weekend, we have 10 games on Friday, 14 on Saturday, and 5 on Sunday. And unfortunately, the way that the schedule shook out, a lot of those games are going to be played at the same time. On Friday alone, let me do a quick count here. 5, 6. So 6 of those games are going to start at 7 o'clock or 7:05 Eastern. So that already takes up, more than half your Friday slate just in that starting block. So we wanted to kind of use part of the show to break down some of those must-see matchups this weekend, because AHL TV is free this weekend.
Yep.
So especially if you're new to the AHL, and even if you're not, this is a great weekend to soak up all that AHL content, enjoy opening weekend, enjoy seeing what these teams are going to become and where they're going to launch this season. But we wanted to highlight, each of us, a few of the games this weekend. And Sam, I want to start with you. On Friday's schedule, what is your must-watch game that you're penciling in to watch on Friday?
So I picked the 2 teams that I feel are just going to be YOLOing it through their season.
I like it.
Tucson Roadrunners and the Henderson Silver Knights.
Yeah, that is going to be, we've talked about for both of those programs. Henderson with Vegas hasn't had the same draft capital coming through the ranks that teams might normally have. So they've really, kind of had to shoehorn everything together and pluck guys from roster cuts at other areas last minute. Tucson in a similar boat, where the players that Arizona has drafted, some of them are still at juniors, some of them are at the collegiate level. So Tucson has kind of taken a little bit of a step back there as a result. But with where those teams are at, I mean, that is, if nothing else, going to be a very entertaining game to watch.
Yeah, so I will be able to watch that one. I think I'll be flipping back and forth between all of them just to keep an eye on everything. But I'll definitely be watching that one.
I'm glad that one has a later start. I'm going to be keeping my eye on several of these. Like, of course, I'm going to watch the Iowa Wild. But the one that stood out for me on Friday's schedule was the Colorado Eagles and the Texas Stars. Texas making some roster cuts today, removed 6 players from their roster, so they're still kind of finalizing things and making their final cuts. Colorado in the same boat, but I think there's a lot of future NHL talent that's going to be playing in that game. These were 2 teams that last year as well were competitive and are keeping relatively similar rosters. Colorado was 3rd in the Pacific last season. Texas was 5th in the Central, but the Central kind of had this cluster of teams where 4 through 7 really could have gone either way, and it came down to the points percentage as the differential there down the stretch. So that one for me, I think is must watch, just to kind of see where those teams are going to position themselves this year. And just in regards to where they finished in the standings last year, I think it's the closest matchup, certainly, of teams within the same division on that Friday slate.
For sure. But I'm more interested in the teams that are going to just YOLO through it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be so entertaining either way.
Because, unfortunately, I was in that same position last season where my team was just YOLOing through life, which, you know what, they definitely pushed and got to hand it to them. But, yeah, a lot of hockey this weekend. So, yeah, 14 games on Saturday is just...
It's so much hockey, and I love it so much. It's such a great time of year. Righteous Felon. We've all been there. 3 o'clock p.m. rolls around. It's too late for lunch, too early for dinner. But that growling in your stomach needs an answer. With that, when that mid-afternoon hunger rolls around, reach for a bag of Righteous Felon beef jerky. Made in Westchester, Pennsylvania, Righteous Felon has tons of flavors like OG Hickory, Baby Blues Barbecue, and Habanero Escobar to fill you up right. Use the promo code OCSN at checkout on righteousfelon.com for 15% off your order. That's OCSN for Old City Sports Network on your jerky bundles, meat sticks, and more. Snack cabinet contraband fresh from the smokehouse. That is Righteous Felon. Sam, you and I talked about this a little bit before the show that our buddy Jesse over at Flyers Alley.
Yeah, I know him well.
Kind of. Yeah, you know him pretty well. Kind of called me out a little bit on Flyers Alley about sending him a video of eating the Voodoo Chow Carolina Reaper from Righteous Felon. I did get that. I got the Darth Garlic here as well. I was munching on that before the show, but said that I didn't. I kind of handled it, but didn't really handle it. So I am not only going to eat during our show live tonight, have some Voodoo Chow here, but I'm also going to challenge Jesse to eat some on Flyers Alley, and we'll see what he can do there. I'm trying to get
Jesse,
a bigger
if you're
piece
out
here. But
there.
Jesse, the gauntlet has been thrown down, and this is not like a baby piece of jerky either. I mean, this is a pretty big, like, here's my hand for comparison. That's a pretty good sized piece. So wanted to do that during the show tonight as well. So
I'm waiting on my Righteous Felon order to get here. So
I'm just gonna go ahead and attack it here. It's so good.
I love it.
Like, there's so much flavor, and like you get the heat right away, and it stays for a while, but it's just so good, like the flavor of the jerky. So, yeah, Jesse, you're up next. Carolina Reaper, showtime.
All right. Well,
Maybe this wasn't the best idea, because now I gotta chew it. Okay, there we go. Made it through. Yeah, the heat is absolutely there, but it's so good. Is this? Hang on, I think we missed because we got to talk Saturday yet, or were we going to do Cam York here?
Oh yeah, no, we have to. My bad.
Oh, good. Saturday games. Yeah, I saw you throw the logo up there.
Yeah, I got excited.
There's so much to talk about. We've got a packed show here. Saturday. What is your must watch Saturday? Okay, I'm gonna have to reach for the water here.
So Saturday, I choose the Milwaukee Admirals versus Chicago Wolves, just because it's Chicago's first game back after winning the Calder Cup. They're raising the banner. Just want to see what the new defending Calder Cup champions can do. If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does, because they're a new look roster this season, as we've talked about before. Like, they really blew things up after the last after they won the Calder. And Milwaukee as well. I mean, that's just, again, another geographically close rivalry, division rivalry as well. So yeah, if nothing else, tune in for the banner ceremony and have some fun with that. I went with the Utica Comets and the Hershey Bears, which, again, two teams that I think are really going to be competing for the top spot in the division all season. Hershey, it just feels like they always have a good program. Utica might be the favorite if you were to put betting odds on it to win the North Division this season. So it's.
I'm going to be honest, out of that game,
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm supposed to be biased, but I'm going to go with Utica.
Oh, I'm picking Utica to win that game too. But again, the game there, I think it's at Hershey. So anytime it's, in the home barn, that gives you a little bit of a advantage back pushing to your side.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay, yeah. So it is at Hershey. But again, that's another
Which I have
one
to say, Hershey's Arena is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping I can make it up there to a game or two this year. It's a bit of a hike for from Cincinnati, but I would still make
I'm
it.
actually going to be out there on Sunday for the game.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
There you
And
go.
I'll be in Wilkes-Barre on Saturday for that game.
Even better. What is the Phantoms opening game this year?
Opening game?
Yeah. Is it the
They play Wilkes-Barre Saturday night, but like home opener is the 22nd.
Okay. Sounds good. I knew it was either Friday or Saturday. I couldn't remember which one, but figured that's also just we throw that out there as your own must-watch game, just on principle.
I try not to because I give them enough coverage.
We do what we can here. Who's our next read here?
Dana, if you go to Hershey, the teddy bear toss game is a must-see. Dana, we have our own teddy bear toss game. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
It's my favorite tradition in hockey, I think, now, is seeing the teddy bear toss, and whenever they have the...
For anybody who thinks I was just really mean, Dana is my best friend. She knows how I roll.
Yeah. No worries there. If you can't chirp with your friends, what are you doing? But yeah, the teddy bear toss, I love when organizations do that.
I do have to piggyback off Dana. Their teddy bear toss game is on a much bigger scale than anybody's. I think last year they may have collected like 15,000 stuffed animals. Lehigh collected 8K.
Yeah, a little bit of a difference in numbers there.
I love getting pelted with stuffed animals. Let me tell you. Fun fact. I pelted Garrett Wilson in the face with a stuffed animal last year.
Oh, boy.
He looked straight up at me. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
It's got to be the worst feeling, like, in the moment, but it's something that you can laugh about now. So, wow. 49K.
She would know she was there.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
Thanks for coming by, Dana. Watch the rest of the show. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a lot of teddies. I'm still feeling the righteous wrong a little bit. Like, it's a slow burnout on it. Like, I still get the flavor there a little bit. But we just did a whole segment, and so yeah.
Hi, Danielle. Dana Radel, the best. I always go to the teddy bear toss game. Yep.
Yeah, it's
all right, guys. I get it. I'll come to that one.
There you go. You got Sam on the hook now.
Right.
Whenever the date is for that, I'll try and see if I can't make it up for that one too. Just have a whole big party for the teddy bear toss. But in the meantime, yeah, go to
Danielle. Sorry, Dan. Danielle, do you know the date for that game? That'd be very helpful for Dan at January 29th.
January 29th. Okay. I will have to check my hockey schedule and get back to you. Make sure that we're not at home that weekend, but if I can make it work to go to that game, we'll definitely do that. Sometimes I travel with the boys on the road, other times not, just depending what's going on.
I know you and I were talking this past Friday night about who we would bench from both our teams.
Oh boy, our boys got bag skated this morning. I should have sent you a video of that one, but that wasn't good. So we'll just move on. Go to www.oldcitysports.com and check out all the other podcasts, articles, and more. We have so many shows that are part of the Old City Sports Network program.
Flyers Alley,
and Delco Dive. We're loading up and adding more daily. The fan lot.
Yep.
Phillies. It's still keeping it rolling somehow. I don't know how they're doing it, but they may will the team. Like, I hate the narrative of who wants it more in sports. Like, that narrative just makes me so mad. But the way that they're playing right now and executing, like, they're running on vibes. Like, I don't get it. They just are. And sometimes that's all it takes.
Listen, a win's a win.
Yep.
We're going to roll with that.
They don't ask how, they ask how many.
Yes. All right.
Sunday.
We're moving into Yam Cork. All right.
Did we get Sunday?
Oh, no, we didn't. Damn it.
I know you want to talk about Camp York. I know you do here. But we do have to touch on Sunday.
I know.
I picked for my Sunday game Coachella Valley and the Calgary Wranglers. We already talked about how good Calgary is going to be this year, but Coachella Valley is the new kids on the block making their season debut. I kind of hate that they have to do it on the road for their opener. Would have been kind of cool if they could have made it work to have them in their home barn for their first ever game. But
so the actual reasoning for that, I actually asked Tony Andrakaitis on a Twitter feed during the summer. I was like, hey, why is that? Why are they on the road for like the first 2 months of their season? They actually replied back and were like, our arena's still being built.
Yep. I wondered if that was the case because we saw that at the NHL level with the Islanders last year where they moved into a new arena and their first like 15 games were all on the road. So figured that was the case with Coachella there. But yeah, it would have been nice. But once they finally get the home game there, I got to think that's going to be a rocking barn.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I know Seattle's is beautiful, so I can only imagine Coachella's.
Yeah.
For my picks, I picked the Providence Bruins versus the Thunderbirds. Out of that game, I feel like the Thunderbirds are just going to steamroll right over them. So,
but again, what do we have as our beloved nickname for the AHL? Anything Happens League?
Always Hungry League.
Always Hungry League. You never know what you're going to get.
The Gauntlet. There's so many nicknames.
Providence did just get sent down to them, I should say, from Boston. Beecher, and I want to say there was one other like fringe Boston versus Providence Bruins player. I'm trying to remember who that was. Give me a second here to look that one up.
Yeah.
Beecher for sure was one of the two, and I was a little surprised by that, but I think he's going to be solid. Maybe just needs a few games at the AHL. And again, with all the injuries Boston's got too, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets called up here.
Yeah, I'm surprised with like how many injuries even the Caps have with like Tom Wilson out, and yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, I remember what it was. They had sent Riley down. They sent Mike Riley down to the minors. So that was a big surprise to me, and I don't know if that was a cap move for the IR so that they could move Charlie McAvoy and then call Riley back up. But the fact that he was even on waivers to begin with was a major surprise to me. And if he ends up in Providence, I mean, that is a very, very good defenseman in the mix for the Bruins there.
Yeah, definitely. And it can provide just some more beef for their team. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people think that the waivers is such a tricky thing, and I try to prevent many meltdowns from happening, but nobody wants to take my word. So with what happened this week, Zach McEwen from the Flyers got basically put on waivers. He wasn't claimed. He is sent down to the AHL. It happens. He technically did not have to be assigned for 30 days. They assigned him anyway, so whatever, we will love him in Allentown as long as we possibly have him. Because that boy, we need the grit. So, yeah. Just waivers are such a funky thing, and it gives me such bad anxiety for 24 hours.
Yeah, I think sometimes, I mean, there's one thing that NHL GMs don't get enough credit for is they kind of have like a, for lack of a better word, a gentleman's agreement on some of these players as they get sent down, where understanding the why of it and not claiming those players to poach away because you don't want that to happen to you later down the road with one of your players that you like and want to have in your system. But it's so stressful anytime you see a player that is on waivers, and it gets confusing with, well, who's exempt and how do the priorities work on claiming, and
the amount of messages I got, like, why why is this person on waivers? I was like, relax. I'm like, it is for purely AHL reassignment. If they're not waiver exempt, they have to be put on waivers. And yes, they can be picked up, but they're usually not picked up. So
right. And this is the time of year where, because they're making those final roster cuts, it's kind of assumed that, for some of them anyway, these are players that you're wanting to keep in your system. You're sending them down because that's what you need to do to make the rosters be compliant with the league rules and with the cap rules. So
yeah, so every NHL team has to be cap compliant by opening night roster deadline. And that's why some players get sent down. But when you see that move happen, it's more or less a paper move.
Yep.
And then they're brought back up once that is basically released.
Right. Montreal just did that with our guy Arbor Jakai, who I was thinking was going to be at Laval most of the season, but they are sending him down for paperwork reasons and then calling him back up, and he's going to play tomorrow night. So
isn't Slavkovsky playing too?
Slavkovsky is playing too. So it was they can't send Slavkovsky down, I think, because he would have to go back to the Czech league if they were to send him down. So like he's going to be there the whole season. I think is how that works as a European player coming to North America.
Yeah, they can't lose them right now.
Yeah. Let's do an ad read so we can get to your boy Cam York.
Yay.
Visit www.norsebeards.com and enter promo code OCS for 25% off your Norse Beards products. OCS for Old City Sports at www.norsebeards.com. Cam York, we have put it off long enough. This was a big point of contention for Flyers fans and even my Minnesota Wild podcast group that I was talking with about this. Like that got brought up in that chat with Cam York being sent down. Was it the right move? This is something that, well, Sam, I'll let you run with it for a minute while I look up the numbers behind.
First of all,
everything here.
You people have exhausted me over this. I love you, my people, but you have exhausted me over this. Cam York did not have a good camp.
No.
At all. I told Jesse, because I was at training camp a couple times, you can tell the guys that put the work in over the summer and were busting their butts. And you can tell the guys that kind of just were like, it's summer. Like, whatever, I'll be fine. The whole thing is that confuses me is that Cam York was here since June.
Mm-hmm.
But he just didn't have a good camp. And I think part of that has to deal with Tortorella. Torts is not an easy dude to have training camp with.
No.
At all. Do I think this was the right move? Yeah. Cam York has been flip-flopped back and forth ever since he came to the AHL due to Michigan having basically their season canceled in the 2021 season. And yeah, I think it was an appropriate move. I don't think Cam played 33 games last season. I really think that he just needs just a little bit more time to cook in the A. People have to realize that being in the AHL, it's not a demotion. It's not a punishment.
No, it's not.
It's not anything like that. You have to have a certain skill set to be here.
Mm-hmm. And I think one other thing that people are forgetting is like Cam York is 21. It is so rare for a defenseman to
be developed at that age.
You get some very rare cases where you get someone like a Miro Heiskanen, like a Quinn Hughes, who are able to come in at 19 or 20 and be not only a serviceable NHLer, but be like a top 4 or even top 2 at that age. And yes, Cam York, 14th overall pick in 2019, first round guy. You have some big expectations because of your draft position, but let's look at where he was at last year. 3 goals, 7 assists in 30 games with the Flyers last season. And then at the AHL level, 2 goals, 10 assists in 34 is a -14 at the NHL level and a -8 at the AHL. Yes, the Phantoms last year were not what Flyers or Phantoms fans for that matter.
We were not good.
It wasn't the season that they were hoping for. That said, I think one thing that is really going to separate this year is knowing that the Flyers aren't going to be as good and knowing the talent that Lehigh has at the AHL level. It is going to be a more competitive, winning, focused environment, I would say, where you are more likely to get those wins and build that confidence playing 24 minutes a night at the AHL than he would playing 10 to 12 minutes a night at the NHL level. And if that's going to get the conditioning back and that's going to really get his game more honed in and focused so that he can be ready for that NHL jump and become a mainstay at the NHL level, I don't have a problem with it.
No, I don't have a problem with it either. Cam, great kid, great player. I've never met a more gracious player that is willing to even just interact with fans on just a personal level. But anyway, it was absolutely the right move for his development. We always hear that goalies and defensemen take a little bit more time to develop. Goalies take the longest because, well, as Colin Mulvey said, they're all freaking weird.
Different breed.
And yeah, I think this was the right move. Cam played Saturday, and he did great. He did fabulous. Yeah, I have to say, Lehigh on Saturday night.
It wasn't good.
No.
Or Saturday was. Friday was not.
Friday was not good.
I couldn't remember which day was the bad game, but I knew the next one was the.
Friday I was there. Friday I left with 5 minutes left in the third. And I don't do that.
No.
But Saturday night was much better. And if that was going to be the final roster, that was a strong team. So if they just made 2 more cuts today, yeah, this team is.
Yeah. Just throwing this one out there as well with Cam York for a minute. This is the last year of his contract on his entry deal, and then he is a restricted free agent after that. So again, this could be a little bit of money management type move as well to be able to lock Cam York up on a more team-friendly bridge deal on his next contract.
And this could also be one of those prove it deals. Why should we give you more money next year? Right.
It's a he's going to get an extension. I can't imagine a scenario where the Flyers don't, they call it tendering
we need
offer.
Defensemen, so it'll be fine.
I can't imagine a scenario where he doesn't get tendered unless he quits on the team this year. That's the only scenario. And from what you've said and from what we've seen, that's not him. That's not who he is. He's not going to do that. So it will probably be, I would think, a 1 to 2 year extension with a one-way contract. So
I could see it being a Lazinski contract,
oh yeah, like a 2 year in the first year and
a 2 year one-way deal or 2-way one-way. So it's a 2 year 2-way one-way.
Right. Yeah, splitting it up so that the first year is 2-way and the second year is a one-way deal. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I wonder how that contract situation plays into things, but I also think that by the end of the season, York will be a consistent part of the Flyers lineup.
Yeah. Barring any injuries and how this organization can handle calling people up and calling people down or putting people down, we should be okay.
Right. This segment of American Beauties is brought to you by Sterling Pig Brewery. Let me get that pronunciation right there. Sterling Pig Brewery out of Media, PA. Thank you to Sterling Pig for your sponsorship of the show and all the shows on the Old City Sports Network.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to let you run with this because you came up with this.
Yeah, so Conor Ingram, goaltender who was previously with the Milwaukee Admirals, was claimed off of waivers yesterday. He is heading to Arizona, and instead of being like the number 3 goaltender in Nashville's system, is now a 1B, maybe even a 1A goaltender for the Arizona Coyotes. Again, we talked about some of those where it's the roster send downs of you don't necessarily poach someone on waivers that you think is going to be part of that team. I really thought Ingram was going to be, Milwaukee's guy and Nashville's guy, a 2-time AHL All-Star, somebody who has really impressed. And even when getting called up to the NHL level has looked good, but was going to be, Kevin Lankinen beat him out for that backup spot with Nashville, got sent down. And now he is in a position where he is going to probably be in about a 50-50 timeshare with Carl Vejmelka in Arizona. So Sam, I want to get your thought on that first, what he brings to Arizona, and then what's the impact going to be for Milwaukee? Because that had me really rethinking am I going to take Milwaukee to win the Central Division this year?
I think it took everybody by surprise. You don't just claim a player off waivers that you don't think can add to your organization.
Mm-hmm. And clearly he can, since he's going to be a starter or at least on the opening day roster.
Now, do I think Arizona is in a rebuild mode? I think that they're trying to do what they can, get out of your college hockey arena, but that's the point. Yeah, I mean, I think he can definitely add to their team and add that depth that Arizona needs.
They really do. Well, and they had goaltender Jonason was his name. Give me a second to look it up here. Jonas Johansen was the goaltender's name, who was on injured reserve to open the season and is being sent down. So he's actually on waivers as well, because they were able to go get Ingram, who is an upgrade as a backup. So Arizona's had some brutal luck with injuries over the last couple of years too, and in particular goaltending injuries. I think back to when they had Darcy Kemper, and Darcy Kemper was hurt, and then Aiden Hill was hurt, and just everybody there.
You know what I have to say to Arizona?
What?
Cheers.
Cheers. Yep. There's going to be a lot of that out in the desert this season. I do think it's a really good get for Arizona. And when you look at Ingram's numbers for his career, 25-year-old goaltender, I was a 3rd-round pick in 2016 for Tampa Bay. Last season with the Admirals, 54 games, had a 2.7 goals against average and a .915 save percentage. The wheels kind of fell off a little bit in the playoffs, where that goals against went up to 5.69 and the save percentage down to 83.5. But again, you look at the regular season performance, and again, the year before that, he went back and forth between Hockey Allsvenskan and the AHL. Had a 250 goals against average with Allsvenskan. In 2019 and 20, a 192 goals against average and a 933 save percentage with Milwaukee. If he's able to take advantage of this opportunity with Arizona, I mean, I saw a lot of promise from Vejmelka last season, just as someone who likes watching goalies and understanding that element of their game. A lot of things to like with both of those two. But Arizona as a team is going to be so bad that it almost feels like they're just kind of setting them up to fail. And I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case with these two.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm off that point. I hope that's not the case either. You never want to see guys in A fail because of their parent team and how bad or good that they're going to be. So,
Right. Next one. What do we have for our next read here? Or do we want to talk about Simon Edvinsson before we? Oh yeah, we'll do that. We'll do the read. This segment is brought to you by Neshaminy Creek Brewing. Visit www.neshaminycreekbrewing.com and check out their awesome beers, merch, and much more. Another player that we saw that was sent down was Simon Edvinsson, who
I guess we'll just name wrong.
I think so too. We'll pull the bug down on that one. But waiver exempt, Simon Edvinsson was sent down in Detroit, so he'll be starting the year with Grand Rapids. I think immediately he is a top 10, if not top 5 defenseman prospect at the AHL level, and someone who probably will be on a point per game pace this season while he's with the Griffins.
Yeah, he can definitely add that depth that the Griffins need. I mean, I could see him even being called up for an injury.
Yeah, I think he's the first call up for Grand Rapids because, again, with the waivers exempt, he can go up and down as many times as needed throughout the season. So,
yep.
Similar to Cam York, Edvinsson, another early draft pick. He was either 6th or 7th overall in his draft year. We just talked about this on the show, last week, I think, even.
Mm-hmm.
So I should have known that off the top of my head.
My good friend Andrew Rinaldi of the Holy Grail of Full Press Hockey, he talks very highly about Edvinsson, and he was like, "Man, I hope he gets sent down. I want to see him play." I'm like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 6th overall pick in 2021. So he's draft year +1, and now I guess this will be his +2 year. But really, the raw talent is so there. And if you get the chance to watch a Griffins game this season and he's in the lineup, keep an eye on what he does with the puck, but keep an eye on what he does away from the puck too. He's just going to be so hard for teams to play against. Last season, he was kind of all over the place, just SHL and playing in Sweden because of the pandemic. So at the SHL level, as an 18-year-old, 19 points in 44 games. And that's playing in a professional league as a 19-year-old kid and putting up basically a point every other game as a D-man. I mean, it's that kind of production that you want to see that gives you hope for what he can do at the AHL level.
Seriously.
Playing it at World Juniors, before it got canceled, he had a goal and 2 assists in 2 games. So where he has gone, he has roughly followed that point per game or better production. And whether that's, at a World Juniors or, the U18 regions for SHL, national team, Allsvenskan, he's been all over and just has continued to play well wherever he has gone. I fully expect that to continue with Grand Rapids.
Yeah, with him being with Grand Rapids, I expect him to, like you said, be on that point per pace game and completely, be just a mainstay for that team this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would not surprise me at all to see him as one of the AHL All-Stars this year. And I would think the only way that he's not is if he gets called up to Detroit before that.
Yeah.
Buffalo Bayou Brewing. Visit www.buffbrew.com and check out their menu of beer and food. If you are in the Houston area, go check them out. They are a big sponsor of the show, and we definitely could not do that without their support. So thank you to Buffalo Bayou.
And also check out our Fanatics link. We are sponsored by fanatics.com.
Yes.
And I put the link on not only this, but I will also put it on our Anchor and Spotify. And we should. I'm gonna also start putting it on our Twitter. So definitely go check that out. Go get some of your favorite NHL gear because they only sell San Jose Sharks. So you can get some AHL team stuff, but they don't sell a lot. So
Yeah, not nearly as much, but maybe if they keep sponsoring our show and they like what we're doing, maybe we can convince them to start getting some AHL merch on there.
That would be cool.
We mentioned this earlier in the show, but the AHL TV is free to watch this weekend. So anyone who has an AHL TV account, you don't need to purchase anything. You don't need a subscription. You can just sign up and try it out, and it's totally a free weekend. And then the other big AHL talker that was announced was we're going to have another outdoor AHL game, which not to put you on the spot, but do you know the last outdoor AHL game?
It was the Phantoms, wasn't it?
It was. It was the Phantoms and the Hershey Bears in Hershey.
I remember because my boy was in it.
Yep, I knew you were going to get it, and I was hoping I wasn't going to get you too tripped up on it, and you nailed it. So, yeah, that was the last outdoor game, but it will be Saturday, March 4th at 1:00 p.m. The Cleveland Monsters against Wilkes-Barre Scranton.
I can already tell you who will win that one, but anyway, go on.
The 11th outdoor hockey game in AHL history, the first professional outdoor hockey game in Cleveland. And believe it or not, tickets for that one actually go on sale tomorrow. It sounded like they had some tickets that were going to start as low as like $10 for tickets as well. So absolutely, if you can make it to that game. I unfortunately do not think I will be able to. I am going to probably have hockey playoffs that weekend. And then I'm traveling to Hawaii for a wedding in March, and then I'm getting married in April. So travel around that time is not going to be too favorable, but you never know. We'll see what we can do.
I also just want to point this out that I did tweet this out yesterday. I actually found it on the AHL website. So thank you, AHL.com, you guys. I cannot say how phenomenal this website is with their wealth of information. I'm going to say this, they're much better than NHL.com.
Yeah, NHL, it's so hard to find what you want. Like they have a lot of stuff on there. It's just not super easy to find.
So this is actually concerning the Phantoms. Not concerning in a bad way, but
right.
I will be here for this game, and I'm actually really excited because it says that the Lehigh Valley Phantoms will play its 2000th regular season game on December 10th at home against the Charlotte Checkers. The Phantoms, who began playing in Philadelphia in 1996, will become the 9th team in AHL history to reach 2,000 games played.
I was wondering if you're going to bring that up. That's another really cool bit of history there this season to look forward to.
Also, that game is, if he is playing, will be homecoming for a goaltender who played for Philly for 5 years.
Going to the AHL website here real quick, too. Here's a cool stat. 590 AHL alumni will begin the season on NHL rosters. That's crazy. That is such a high number.
Wow.
So again, to everybody that we've been talking about with, using the AHL to back the NHL, 22 of the NHL's 32 head coaches were AHL bench bosses earlier in their careers. And good ones at that. Tortorella, Bruce Boudreau, Peter Laviolette, Sheldon Keefe, John Cooper, Jared Bednar, like winning coaches get their start in the AHL, winning players get a start in the AHL. Check out the free AHL TV this weekend. I mean, you got to take advantage of it.
And I know some people just aren't high on watching the minor league, but you got to realize this is where your players come from. This is where your Charas come from. I got a story this morning from somebody who was at the very first Phantoms game in 1996. Very first one. So it'll be how many ever games ago?
Nearly 1,000, right?
I saw Chara before he went in the NHL.
There you go.
Like, what?
Yeah. You get to see these guys and you get attached to them and you cheer for them throughout their careers just by virtue of seeing them. So, again, and we talk about how some of these great prospects are just now getting their start. Like, I don't want to say could Edvinsson be the next Chara, because that's a ridiculous comparison based on how they play. And I mean, Chara is 6'9", like that Edvinsson isn't. That's not a comparison. But for a story like Chara, who, maybe Edvinsson plays into his 40s and is a longtime captain for his team or something like that. These guys get their start here, and I can't push it enough.
Yeah,
it's the backbone of the NHL.
The AHL, I think, serves more of a purpose than the NHL. I'm sorry.
It really can. In terms of player development, it really, really can.
But yeah, so, well, that's all I have for this week.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap for tonight. So thank you to everybody who tuned in during the show, had some comments throughout the show as well, which we love to see. Jesse, I will be on the lookout for you to be trying Voodoo Child.
I'm actually going to clip that, and I'm going to
please do. Please do. Thank you again to all of our sponsors, Righteous Felon, Neshaminy Creek Brewing, Norse Beards, Buffalo Bayou Brewery, Lugru Jerseys, Sterling Pig, and the Old City Sports Network. But yeah, that's probably a good place to end for tonight. So that's it for today's episode of American Beauties. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back for more next week at 8:30 as well, next Tuesday night. And we will officially have regular season AHL games to talk about on that show. I can't wait.
Actual segments next week.
Yeah. How about that? What a concept. So that is it for tonight. She's Sam. I'm Dan. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.
Bye, guys.